the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw the light, and it was good.
Attention, please. Operation will begin in half an hour.
It could change physics forever. The revamped Large Hadron Collider LHC is due to be restarted after a 2-year hiatus. Described in some reports as a monstrous underground atom smasher, the LHC is the world's most powerful particle collider, and it's already revolutionized physics with the discovery of the Higgs boson. Higgs boson's ability to give mass to most elementary particles has earned it the nickname the God particle. The LHC is expected to run faster than ever and is predicted to reach its highest collision energy by June. It's on course to smash all records and solve some of the biggest mysteries in physics.
After years in the repair shop, the world's most complex machine is coming out of hibernation. Scientists are hitting the restart button on the Large Hadron Collider. Straddling the French-Swiss border, what's been called the Big Bang Machine consists of a 17-mile underground ring. There, subatomic particles travel at almost the speed of light and are smashed together, allowing scientists to sift through the aftermath in an attempt to answer unsolved questions about things like dark matter, supersymmetry, and extra dimensions. The LHC is a science experiment that took decades to come together. The LHC was finally up and running in 2008. For the first time, a beam of protons steered around the collider. But it wasn't a smooth start. 9 days later, an electrical problem damaged the machine. About 1 year and $40 million in repairs later, the machine was back online, and the payoff was colossal. In 2012, CERN announced the discovery of the elusive Higgs boson, the so-called God particle, thought to explain how other particles get their mass. But the following year, the $10 billion Proton Collider was taken offline for refurbishing. Now, it's being fired up again. This run is due to go through 2017. With the upgrades, particles can collide together at even higher energies, giving scientists another chance to unlock the mysteries of our universe.
The Large Hadron Collider is being fired up this week after a 2-year hiatus, and a group of scientists believes that the results could prove the existence of parallel universes. Scientists believe that a second run of the LHC could produce or detect miniature black holes, which they argue could point to entire universes hidden away in higher dimensions folded into our reality. Now the LHC will be powered to its highest ever energy levels, about double those of its last run. And if these scientists are right, the new run could uncover black holes tucked away in dimensions beyond the 4 that we interact with in our daily lives.
On the 10th of September 2008, the largest, most complex, and most expensive machine ever devised by man was turned on. The Large Hadron Collider, or LHC, is a 17-mile-long ring of superconducting electromagnets buried approximately 300 feet beneath the ground near the city of Geneva on the Franco-Swiss border. Chilled to temperatures colder than the void of outer space and generating a magnetic field more than 100,000 times that of the Earth's, this machine accelerates proton particle beams to a velocity just under the speed of light and then smashes them together in particle detector chambers in order to break apart the nuclei and unloose the subatomic secrets of matter. At full power, the LHC produces roughly 600 million collisions per second, creating fleeting, minuscule atomic explosions up to 1 million times hotter than the interior of the Sun. The data collected from these collisions is processed by the worldwide LHC computing grid, one of the most extensive and powerful computing grids on the planet. The grid, as it is known, builds on the technology of the World Wide Web, which was invented at CERN in 1989. The Large Hadron Collider is the primary research instrument of the European Organization for Nuclear Research, otherwise known as CERN.
If somebody arrived on Earth from another planet and they asked you, what on earth are you doing at CERN? In a sentence, how would you explain it?
In a sentence, I would say what we're trying to do is understand the universe around us as well as we possibly can.
Is that the way you would characterize what's happening at CERN?
That's the hope, of course. And every scientist is like a child that is playing on the throne, as you know. And that's what everybody on the planet is hoping for. So the intention is marvelous. Only this physics, which no one knows yet in this realm, also contains dangers. And I'm a little concerned about the dangers that are not yet, how should I say, addressed so far. It is a wonderful hope connected to CERN, and there is a danger involved, and the danger has not been disproved.
CERN is the largest scientific consortium in the world, involving thousands of top physicists from 21 member states, all working in tandem to discover the fundamental elements that hold the universe together. While this admitted objective of CERN seems innocent enough, and even laudable in a sense, there are deep concerns about potential unintended consequences and probable occult intentions.
What CERN does, it accelerates particles in that big circle, around and around and around and around until they're traveling at just enormous velocity, and then they collide these particles together. And in that moment, it creates a moment that they think is kind of how the Big Bang started the whole universe. That's the whole purpose behind it. However, they also believe that there are parallel realities around us, other dimensions, and there could be other intelligence there. However, there's a reason God put them on the other side of that veil, and you might not want to open the door. And here's the thing, their own director of CERN has gave interviews to the British press in which he admits that's what they're trying to do. They want to open a door to another dimension. And he said, when we open this door, he said, something might come through it into our reality, or he said, we might send something through it into their reality. You can look that up. It's in the British press. Where the CERN was built, this is St. Genus Powili. That's the name of the township. But in ancient days, it was called Apolliacum. It was literally a temple to the god Apollo because they believed that's the gateway to the underworld.
But I did it. I actually did it, Doctor. See, viewing was only the beginning. But like a rudimentary computer, it only took time and development before a new model was born. You harness a wormhole, speed up one end and slow down the other end.
Go on.
I can't.
Mr. Darnell, you realize...
Please, I can't. Let's leave it at this.
How does it work? How does it work?
You have to understand, if I answer that question, it could rip a hole through everything as we know it.
But that's why you're here, isn't it? To change the past, so you're gonna have to give me something.
Dr. Pine, I was under the impression it was never a good idea to force a patient to divulge anything they weren't comfortable with.
I can't, I can't keep doing this.
All right. I know this must be frustrating. I can't give you everything. It just wouldn't be safe.
I'm listening.
You say you like science?
I do.
To go back and read the concepts presented by Hawking, Einstein, Lewis, light speed, black holes, wormholes. They were so close. There was just one small piece missing. I'm sure you're aware or somewhat familiar with the concept of wormholes.
Sure, yeah, they're fascinating to wonder about.
If you don't mind, could you tell me what you know?
They're a consequence of Einstein's theory of general relativity. A wormhole, in theory, would act as a shortcut or a passageway through space and time.
The physics are even simpler than your definition. A wormhole creates a tunnel, effectively cutting through two locations in space-time.
Yeah, therefore eliminating the need for three-dimensional travel through space. No more rocket ships. I like Stargate too.
Oh, wow, Stargate. It's been a long time since I've seen that movie. Who was that guy in it? He was really good in that old Western.
Kurt Russell?
Kurt Russell, he was good, wasn't he?
Listen, nothing you're telling me is new information, right? The theories about wormholes have existed for a long time, but nobody knows if they actually exist or how to find them.
But I do. They're everywhere. Just a matter of seeing them or harnessing them.
But you haven't explained either. How do you see them? How do you harness them? A machine, some sort of gateway?
Of course you need a machine to sustain a wormhole. But this is where I stop. I have given you the gun. Let me keep the bullets.
Please continue.
I found a way to go back. I was alone, but I found it. My old partner was the only one that knew, but for now, it'll stay that way. The only question is, can the ripples I create be enough to change the future? Or create an alternate one?
Ripples?
Think of the water in that glass as time. Time moves forward constantly, untouched, as still as the water. Go back and try to change something, and it creates a ripple effect. Change has to catch up with time. And everything around it either changes or suffers.
Werner Heisenberg understood quite well what quantum physics implied for humanity. Inherent within this theoretical realm, populated by obtuse equations and pipe-smoking scientists, lies what I call the Babylon potential. This is the secret knowledge, the scientific imperative, informed and driven by spiritual advisors, that the Bible cites as the key to opening a gateway for the gods. It is Ente Menaki, Baba Alu, the opening of the Abzu, the doorway to hell. Tom goes on to explain that, although Heisenberg may or may not have known it, CERN is an abbreviated title for an ancient Celtic deity called Cernunnos. Cernunnos, whose name means horned one, is thought to be the god of death and rebirth and the lord of the underworld. He is often depicted with rings or torques around his stag-like horns or in his hands, which may symbolize the circle of destruction and restoration that he represents. To further concretize this idea, Cernunnos is also depicted with a ring in one hand and a snake in the other. Because of the cycle by which it sheds its skin, the snake has ever been a mystical motif of death and rebirth, destruction and restoration. In a reversed esoteric adaptation, the rings of the Large Hadron Collider could be representative of the rings of Cernunnos, and by further associative interpretation, may very well reveal CERN's prime esoteric objective. I believe it does, and will address it at the end of this analysis. I understand that drawing correlations between the acronym of CERN and deities from the ancient world may seem too forced and tenuous for critical minds, and I might be inclined to agree. if CERN had not evoked such correlations first. Rather than distance themselves from associations with arcane pagan deities, the directors of CERN welcomed and even celebrated the placement of a very unscientific icon in the courtyard of their main facilities. On the 18th of June 2004, a 2-meter-high statue, bequeathed by the representatives of India's Department of Atomic Energy, was ceremoniously unveiled at CERN. It was a statue of the Hindu god Shiva, engaged in the Nataraja, the cosmic dance of destruction. Shiva is one of 3 members of the Trimurti, the Hindu Trinity, in which the cosmic functions of creation, preservation, and destruction are personified in the forms of Brahma the Creator, Vishnu the Preserver, and Shiva the Destroyer, who is also known as the Transformer. It is important to understand that in Hindu mythology, Lord Shiva destroys the world in order to renew, restore, and reconstitute it. A commemorative plaque positioned next to the likeness of the dancing Shiva emblazons a quote from Austrian-born American physicist Fritjof Capra. It reads, in part, "Hundreds of years ago, Indian artists created visual images of dancing Shivas in a beautiful series of bronzes. In our time, physicists have used the most advanced technology to portray the patterns of the cosmic dance. The metaphor of the cosmic dance thus unifies ancient mythology, religious art, and modern physics." Think about this, says Steve Quayle in his book True Legends. A symbolic statue of what might be a fallen angel who promises to destroy things as we know them now and rebuild a new, improved universe, with a plaque basically saying the facility will be trying to unify mythology, religion, and physics. Skeptics will be quick to point out that the unifying of ancient mythology, religious art, and modern physics is only metaphorically represented in the dance of Shiva and has no practical application in the scientific activities of CERN. Again, I might be inclined to agree, except for the fact that CERN has been deliberately encouraging the coalescence of mythology, art, and physics in very bizarre ways. The truth is that the occult, art, and science have always been fundamentally entwined. The natural synthesis or symmetry that binds them is perhaps best illustrated in one man, Sir Francis Bacon. Bacon, who is widely considered to be the father of modern science and the primary proponent of the scientific method, which is the very underpinning of CERN, was himself an occultist, artist, and scientist. There is, in truth, no incongruity between the material and the metaphysical world, the physical and the spiritual. They are merely two sides of the same coin, both essential parts of the whole. When one penetrates deeply enough into what we call physics, one discovers, inevitably, the veil that separates these two realities. Occultists have always been aware of this fact. Even to Francis Bacon and his scientific contemporaries, many of whom were members of the mystery schools, deciphering the mechanisms of the material world was but the means to a far more important objective: to make contact with the entities lurking on the other side of the veil. This veil is often described as a dimensional doorway that allows access into realms beyond the perceivable world. The concept of unperceivable dimensions existing essentially in the same space we physically occupy is not only very probable, but also very widely accepted in the scientific community. Many top physicists are quietly hoping that the proton collisions happening at the Large Hadron Collider will puncture the fabric of our four-dimensional confine and allow us to peek through the keyhole, as it were, into another dimension or alternate universe. The pinnacle of science, for its elite occult practitioners, is not discovery, but contact. There are many indications that the power players of our world, including the Vatican, are preparing to make contact with the gods of the old world. Although I have not been able to confirm the validity of the following pictures, it appears that transparent panels containing arcane texts were photographed inside the CERN facilities by a group of Portuguese students from the Santa Cecilia Music Academy. The texts have been described as greetings or invocations written in ancient languages, including Aramaic, Hebrew, Mandarin, and Sanskrit. In the case of Sanskrit, the only people with the ability to read this sacred script, considered to be the language of the gods, are the scholars of the Vedas and Upanishads. If authentic, these panels may have been prepared for those somethings that might come through the dimensional doorway. I believe that the Luciferian priesthood behind the thrones of the European Union and the United Nations intend to use CERN as the key to literally open the gates of hell in order to release the gods that have been imprisoned there, those fallen watchers and arcane entities bound with chains in the abyss of Tartarus. Their prime objective is the restoration of the Golden Age, when the gods mingled themselves with the seed of men, and their hybrid offspring ruled the earth. All of our research points inexorably to this grand conspiracy. By breaking the subatomic bonds of matter and casting away the cords that hold the material world together, mankind will willingly tear the veil that has been established for his own protection and unleash a darkness and chaos that the earth has not seen for many ages.
We have the power to overcome our own flesh, because the darkness in this world is about to be pulled out of everything. Everything with darkness in it. That darkness is about to surface in a way that no one ever forecasted or thought possible, but it's absolutely going to take place.
Are you watching this, guys? Are they watching this?
This is one of our darkest days as a city.
And the only way a person can overcome this is through the true power of the Holy Spirit. And to stay within the blood of the Lamb, there is no hypocrisy in purity. There is no hatred in purity. There is no accusation in purity, and people need to be in that purity in truth, not acting like they're in the purity. They have to be there. It has to be in their hearts. And they have to do everything they can do right now so they can be strong enough to endure. None of us knows when we're absolutely going, but I for one, intend to finish this race, and I'm trying to sound an alarm that something very different is going to be all too evident to everybody who believes in our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And without Him in truth, they're not going to make it. They will not make it without Him in truth.
One of the tragedies of Nepal's earthquake is that many of the country's most treasured cultural monuments were destroyed in the blink of an eye. I'm standing in what was the Fashidega Temple. It was dedicated to Shiva, the Hindu god of destruction, and now there's very little of it left.
Revelation opens up the future for us. So in Revelation chapter number 9 and verse 1, the scripture says, "And the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit as the smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth, and unto them was given power, as the scorpions of the earth have power. And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads. And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months. And their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when he striketh a man. And in those days shall men seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared to battle, and on their heads were as it were crowns like gold, and their faces were as the faces of men. They had hair as the hair of a woman, and with teeth were as the teeth of lions. And they had breastplates, as it were breastplates of iron. The sound of their wings was as the sound of chariots of many horses running to battle. And they had tails like unto scorpions, and there were stings in their tail. Their power was to hurt men 5 months. And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon.
So there's a really weird viral video making the rounds. It appears to show an occult ritual taking place outside of the CERN facility in Geneva. Now the video was filmed at night. It depicts a mock ritual human sacrifice. Several individuals are in black cloaks, and then they surround a woman who then appears to be stabbed. Now the European Organization for Nuclear Research has launched an investigation into the video, saying it's most likely a prank gone too far. Right, because these are scientists who apparently on their off time like to engage in mock sacrifice just for funsies. So a CERN spokeswoman said that these scenes were filmed on our premises, but without official permission or knowledge, although indicating that those involved in the spoof did have access badges because CERN IDs are checked systematically at each entry to the CERN site, whether it's day or night. CERN does not condone this type of spoof, which can give rise to misunderstandings about the scientific nature of our work. And indeed, that's exactly what has happened. Apparently, these scientists were wanting to create some sort of a viral video, and it worked. But now there's all sorts of conspiracy theories percolating around the video, because this isn't the first time that CERN scientists have been involved in weird, bizarre, occultic videos. A film was made called Symmetry. It's a dance opera film shot inside CERN, and it depicts a modern physicist searching for the smallest primordial particle and instead discovers a love without end. So what they do at CERN, physicists and engineers there are probing for the fundamental structure of the universe. They're using the world's largest and most complex scientific instruments to study the basic constituents of matter, which are the fundamental particles. So CERN houses arguably one of the greatest inventions mankind has ever seen, the Large Hadron Collider. Now, the Large Hadron Collider is the world's largest and most powerful particle accelerator. What it does is it has two high-energy particle beams traveling at close to the speed of light before they are made to collide. And according to the LHC's main engineer, Steve Myers, this is like firing two needles across the Atlantic and getting them to hit each other. So one of the experiments that's taking place is the quest for the Higgs boson, or the God particle. This is believed to be essential for formation of the universe. And the CERN scientists believe they've actually discovered and created this Higgs boson in 2012. They discovered a new subatomic particle that possibly is this much sought after Higgs boson. Now, of course, we have a lot of knowledge that can come out of this kind of technology, but it's also bringing a lot of fears. Specifically, a few years ago, there was a lot of concern about creating a black hole, which could destroy life on Earth in its quest. And we know mad scientists are perfectly okay with destroying Earth as long as they can play God. So, of course, it seems fitting that this latest occult spoof was staged in front of a statue of the Hindu deity Shiva, the destroyer. Now, this statue is on permanent display at the complex. It was gifted to CERN from India. They were sort of celebrating their decades-long association with CERN. But it's a very interesting statue, very symbolic there. This is the form of the dancing Lord Shiva. It's known as the Nataraja, and a lot of people have called this the dance of destruction. It symbolizes Shakti, or life force, and it represents Lord Shiva dancing the universe into existence, influencing it, and then eventually destroying it in preparation for a new universe, which is exactly what a lot of people believe could happen at the CERN facility. So here is actually a really great explanation of the symbolism behind this statue from the History Channel's Ancient Aliens.
Shiva's cosmic dance is not seen as a negative, even though it is greatly destructive. It is destroying in order for something new to be created. Things are cleared away so new things, new possibilities, better possibilities can emerge.
Could Shiva not only be a mythological deity that represents the ancient Hindus' understanding of the universe, but might he also have been an otherworldly being who passed on information to our ancestors that we are only now rediscovering?
Always incredibly interesting theories there in Ancient Aliens. So while CERN scientists have already debunked this idea of the possibility of an Earth-destroying black hole, the short answer is that cosmic rays from space are constantly pummeling Earth with energies that dwarf those of the Large Hadron Collider. But they do have some theories suggesting that formation of tiny quantum black holes might be possible, and they also acknowledge that they're probing for the presence of extra dimensions. So are we on the verge of discovering our true origins, or are we acting out a prophecy that once foretold a time when man would claim victory over ignorance, while simultaneously destroying the old world, making way for the new world that would arise?